going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Well, hello. We were in studio on time, and we were here when we were supposed to be here, but the computers decided not to play nice, so we apologize for that weird start. Hopefully we didn't chase too many of you away, but Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker back in studio together for the first time in a week.
Yeah, it's almost never happens anymore.
But, yeah, sorry for the odd start there, weird delay. We had some technical issues that just all of a sudden popped up just as we were trying to start our show. But got them resolved, so we're back. And we're back together. And a lot of things to discuss while we're here. We've got Utah State basketball tomorrow, taking on Fresno State. Remember, it's an early game. Don't plan on showing up at 7 o'clock because it'll be an empty spectrum. But
not quite. You'll catch the tail end of a women's basketball
game. The women's game will be probably just concluding.
Yeah, it starts at 5, so there might still be people in there, but you'll have missed basically all of the action for the entire day.
Yes. Yeah. So the men's play. They play at noon, taking on Fresno State, and then the ladies at 5.
It's rather fortuitous because I was planning on going back down to visit family over New Year, and all of a sudden I realized, oh, yeah, Utah State's playing a basketball game, so I have to cover that. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it's at noon, so I'll still be able to go down, celebrate New Year's with the family.
Yay.
So,
yes,
nice.
And it doesn't really get in the way of too many other people's New Year's plans, if you have any. So a lot of different things to get through here on the show. Talk about basketball. We really haven't had a chance to talk about what happened in Hawaii with the basketball team. Latest on who's coming and going for Utah State football, because that continues to be an ever-evolving story for Utah State. And it's just kind of bizarre how things are trending now all of a sudden over these last 48 hours. They had the bowl game Tuesday. Blake Anderson praises his defensive front and all the returners on defense. That's clearly going to be the strength of the team next year. And that defensive front is going to look vastly different after a couple of these guys taking to social media saying that they are going to be on the move.
Yeah, it's getting close to being completely gutted. You lose Byron Vaughns, who announces he's transferring this morning. And Daniel Grishik yesterday announced he's transferring, and not too long ago, Tavian Coleman. Didn't announce it himself, but he retweeted a post saying he was in the transfer portal, so basically he confirmed it. So right there, that's 2 starters and 1 rotation defensive lineman. And there's going to be a few returners. Holly Motuapawaka is, I'm imagining he's going to be back. He has a season available. Although the way things are going, maybe he leaves too. But, he'll be in his, 5th year, I think? 5th or 6th year at Utah State. So maybe he'll just hang around because he doesn't feel like he needs to go anywhere else. But, yeah, it's getting really bad to where I thought, this defensive front, they're going to return a bunch of guys. They're going to be really good, have a lot of returning experience, have some great talent. And now they've lost 2 huge pieces of talent, 1 key, rotation guy. And things are looking a lot different than they were a couple of days ago in terms of the 2023 prospects for this defense.
Yeah, so it's so what's going on? That's the big question. With the immediately after the end of the season, that's when the first kind of wave of portal transfer guys are talked about. And there were a few for Utah State, but then look, they're hanging in there and they're continuing to develop and stay with the team through the bowl game. And so are they doing that out of respect for their peers, for their coaches? And once the bowl is done, then they're like, okay, I was planning on leaving all along, but I wanted to see this through until the end of the official end of the season for us, the end of the football season once the bowl game is done. Or as the portal has opened, is this recruiting, call it legal or otherwise, going on, or in starting to people close to these players starting to whisper in their ears about opportunities elsewhere, or do they know something that may be upcoming and they don't want to stick around for it? It could be a coaching change, maybe a different philosophy. Who knows? And they're like, I don't want to be a part of that. It could be any number of those reasons.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we look at I think there's 13 players by my count. We just published a transfer portal tracker on Cache Valley Daily. Basically got outgoing guys and incoming guys. There's only 2 transfers incoming so far. That's going to change in the near future because Utah State's obviously going to have to go to the portal to fill a lot of these spots. But right now, of the 13 outgoing transfers I have on this table, where they're all pretty much confirmed in one way or another, 8 of them are on the defensive side of the ball. Now, maybe that's if you were to just completely randomize, that may be a distribution that could happen randomly. It's 8-5. That's not a huge gap. But the fact there's a lot of defensive players that are leaving. Is there something on the defensive side of the ball, especially the defensive line? Because you look at it, there's Addison Trump, defensive end, Byron Vaughns, Daniel Grishik, and Tavian Coleman. I guess 5 defensive linemen or 4? I'm trying to count in my head and it's not working very well. I think 4 defensive linemen have transferred. 3 of them rotation guys. So I don't know what's up. Now, granted, again, it could just be completely coincidental. It's the kind of random chance you could maybe see. But it does feel weird that it's a lot of defensive linemen that are just transferring.
So, yeah. So are they talking to each other? Do they feel like something's not happening that needs to happen? Do they feel like something is going to happen that they're not on board with? So it could be any number of things here, but it is kind of suspicious that many players in one position group just all of a sudden now are entering the portal.
Yeah, and there are any number of factors. Like for Daniel Grishik, within a day, he'd gotten 5 offers. 3 of them from P5 schools. Now, it's not like cream of the crop P5 schools, but he's getting offers from Indiana and Missouri and I think West Virginia. And he's also getting offers from soon-to-be Power 5 teams, Houston and Cincinnati. Big-time G5 programs. So maybe Grishik was just looking to move up. Byron Vaughns, I haven't heard anything as far as what his offers are. But he's the guy that's probably going to be looking to move up. Waylon Lapuaho, he's the guy who's looking to move up. He's already got an offer from BYU.
Yeah, and that came super fast, which means there
suspiciously
was probably
fast.
something already in the works.
Yeah. It just is interesting. Where I don't know if collectively they're all related or if it's just in each case they wanted to move up, seem to have an opportunity to do so. There's also them potentially chasing NIL money. A lot of these schools are looking to go to, or they're teams that have or are going to have collectives that can get them money. Especially a guy like Waylon, who, there's not a collective at Utah State yet. They're working on it, but go to a place like BYU where you can actually get some money. Because, offensive linemen aren't super marketable unless you're a guaranteed NFL guy. So these guys could be chasing a number of things. Opportunity, money. Maybe they just don't like Utah State. I didn't get the impression from any of those guys they didn't like Utah State. But who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to know if they're just isolated incidents in and of themselves or if there's something else that's brewing there under the scenes that under the surface that we're just not aware of publicly. But, you've put together kind of a tracker. You're going to be updating and keeping an eye on players coming and going for Utah State. And initially, that number of players leaving didn't look to be very large. And it was, that's kind of normal. We're seeing that, just some players who just aren't seeing playing time or seeing opportunities. They put their name in the portal, trying to find somewhere else where they will. And sometimes, more often than not, that means they're moving laterally or even down to different degrees or different levels. But that number is growing. And initially, when Blake Anderson announced his recruiting class as like in the low to mid-20s, but that was a big number considering there are only like 10, 11 guys graduating. But it's because he's trying to compensate for players leaving, and it looks like they're not done. He may be trying to go get a few more guys. Yeah,
he's going to have to spend a lot of time in the portal, and I imagine a lot of these caught him off guard because, he was saying after the bowl game, we're going to have all the defensive line back, And I was thinking, we're going to have the 2 deep defensive line back. It's going to be great. No, not anymore. So it had to have caught Anderson off guard with these guys, where he's just losing most of his starters at this point. 3 starters, at least from the bowl game. We think Coleman started in the bowl game. Actually, no, I think somebody else started. But still, I mean, he's had playing time. He's had impact plays. Yeah, played about 450 snaps this season, which for a defensive lineman that was injured to heck and back is, it's a pretty high number there. So, it's the new college football. There's free agency. Everyone leaves, everyone comes. So, there's going to be a rebound because eventually, right now is the time when everybody's leaving. It's, the second wave because when the transfer portal first opens, a bunch of the players who just weren't getting playing time anyway, they all have a mass exodus from all the different schools. And then the post-bowl game exodus is when that's the one that hurts the most because that's your good players that leave.
Yes.
And that's what it's feeling like right now. And then in a little bit, we're going to start seeing good players commit to Utah State. Good prospects, former P5 guys. And that'll feel a lot better. We'll feel a little bit better about some of these losses when they've been replaced by guys that we're confident about. But for now, it's frustrating, especially because when you have those guys come in, they're unknown quantities. Like when Brian Cobbs comes in, we thought, okay, this guy could be pretty good. We thought Xavier Williams would be pretty good. But in the end, they're unknowns. Cobbs turned out to be good. Xavier turned out to not be very good. And now he's transferring. He's probably going to go another step down. So you're banking on unknown, players, unknown to you at least. And certainly unknown to us who aren't doing the recruiting process. But it can just be frustrating that you're trading a guy like Daniel Grisham, okay, in this system he's able to produce, maybe 8 to 10 sacks in a season. Byron Vaughns can get, 8 to 10 tackles for loss and a handful of sacks and be a really good, pass rusher and run stopper in the, at the defensive end position. And you're trading him for, I don't know, a guy that used to be a 3-star recruit that went to Wisconsin or whatever, pick a school that their player might be coming from. It's like, it's hard to feel confident when you had a guy you knew was good and you're replacing him with a guy that you hope is good.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're giving up what's known for something that's unknown. That may need development and time to get there, and who knows what it's going to turn out to be like. And so when these players transfer, as you've put together your list, and it's available on CashValleyDaily.com, you can see there's a couple tight ends, I guess one tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, but there's a number of guys on the same position group. You got 3 defensive ends and a defensive lineman. So is that, like we said, are they just happen to be making their own decisions independent of each other, or are they aware of something that is going on, either a coaching change that's coming or one that needed to happen but isn't happening, and so that's why they're leaving? So it's unfortunate. It's really too bad. I mean, that was going to be the strength of Utah State next year, having all that experience and depth on that defensive front with some new pieces coming in And now it's going to be a big question mark and something that has to be rebuilt. So that's tough.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing because the way this season was going, it was going to be your typical, I guess what used to be, a rebuilding year. For Utah State, they weren't a reload kind of program the way that, all the great programs were. They would lose a bunch of guys, but then they'd reload. And now, it used to be like, if you were a lower program who couldn't do the complete reload and just still be good all the time, you would maybe have a good year, let's say 2012 for Utah State. You have a really good year, maybe some players leave. Maybe that's not the greatest example. It might be 2018 might be a better example where after 2018 you lost several good players. Then they were trying to rebuild. And in past years you'd have a really good year, then you'd have to rebuild, after the great players left. Well, now you don't get rebuilding years anymore because the point of the rebuilding year was, all right, we have some good players, we have a bunch of young and inexperienced players, then we go into the next year, the good players are there, the inexperienced players now have experience, they're 1 year better, and now we can have another good year. You don't get that because Utah State, the theory was, you're going to have all these good players, we've said it over and over, the Brian Vaughns, Daniel Grishik, Tavian Coleman, who's up and coming in terms of experience, Waylon Lapuaho, a young guy, getting experience. You think, all right, we're going to get all these guys back, we'll have some guys that are good, some guys that are young, the young guys get experience, they're a year better. It all comes together to have a really good 2023 in this case. And you can't do that anymore because now all the good players from your rebuilding year just leave. And you're back to where you were at the start of 2022. A bunch of unknowns, a bunch of inexperienced players, guys you haven't had around the roster or, haven't gone through spring ball and fall camp with. And it's just like, what are you supposed to do if you're Utah State? You just have to get lucky in the transfer portal at this point. You have to get lucky that players don't decide to leave. You have to get lucky in the guys you bring in, and you can't develop anyone anymore because anytime somebody develops, half the time they want to leave.
That can happen. So I think the next thing certainly is what happens with is Utah State. Do they remain active in recruiting? They certainly do. I think you have to. And certainly now that you've got to replace some main big pieces on your defensive front. But let's also keep in mind, just because you put your name in the portal doesn't necessarily mean you're gone. But maybe it does send a signal to a coaching staff that things need to change or they know of things that are changing, and we'll see who gets replaced and what the new guy looks like. And maybe they'll decide to stick around, but this is going to keep going until for a little while still. the recruiting deadline, your final recruiting class, I should say, will be announced first part of February. So there's still opportunity for Blake Anderson and his staff to add a few more players now that they know they have more holes that need to be filled.
Yeah, and they're just going to have to tank this and go for it. And Anderson talked about how he's hesitant to sign, one-and-done guys. He's not been completely opposed to the idea, obviously, because he's signed some. He's been more along the lines of bringing a guy like an MJ Tafisi who's got a couple years of eligibility. The other linebacker they just brought in from Washington State, Gavin, can't remember his last name. Starts with a B. But he's got like 3 years of eligibility left. He did bring in a one and done guy from Utah for this early signing period. He might have to go in and sign a few more of those. He brought in a Brian Cobbs, who was a one and done, was a really good, the top receiver for the Aggies. Because with how many guys you're losing Hunter Reynolds to graduation, you're losing Vaughns to the transfer portal, you're losing Grishik to the transfer portal, losing a rotation defensive lineman. I don't know, somebody else going to transfer too. You're also losing one of your corners, an Andre Grayson. Like, that's basically every single one of your defensive leaders, save, I guess, AJ Vong, Pachong, and MJ Tafisi. Like, you've lost the heart of your defense.
Yeah, now Switzer coming back, there's heard a lot of good things about him and the role that he can play on the field and off the field. But you just listed a bunch of guys. It takes more than just one voice. And they're losing a bunch of them. So look, this was a team in turmoil earlier this year. Plenty of controversy about who should and shouldn't be starting at quarterback earlier in the year. That was more than just fans who were kind of upset about things, and it wasn't just that. I mean, there were a lot of things that were in turmoil with this team over the last 8-9 months, and it kind of looked like they were working on getting it put together. Had a us against the world for a while there, and got some momentum, strung some wins together, got bowl eligible, made it to a bowl game, but it's hard to know, like how deep do some of those wounds really run, and do they just I'm going to stick it through, but once it's done, then I'm out. So it's hard to know. I mean, a lot of different reasons why, as we've detailed many times, why somebody might want to leave, but it is kind of surprising that so many in one particular position group within the last 48 hours announcing that they are leaving.
Yeah, it just is interesting. I think there was a player, and I can't remember if it was Byron Vaughns or not, who posted and then deleted a tweet that was kind of attacking the fans a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely hard feelings for the players against the fans and the way things went down in that Weber State game and post immediately following. But I don't know. Strange times right now with Utah State football. We do need to take a break. We're well overdue for a timeout. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 435-339-0321. We do have Utah State basketball in action tomorrow at noon in the Spectrum with Fresno State starting conference play. And what about the other top stories? I think we're hitting on one story that's been pretty big, but what are some of the other top sports stories over the last year, locally at least? Love to get your thoughts, your nominations for what you think were some of the top stories of the year in sports for Northern Utah, Southeast Idaho. 435-339-0321.
It's that first kiss, that moment in time.
It's that look in her eye when you get the first sign.
We make it personal, when it's real.
Something for everyone. We know how you feel. Jarrett's fine jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jarrett's.
Nothing compares to the warmth and feel that a wood stove provides. The two-time Best of Northern Utah winning team says there's never been a better time to replace your old inefficient wood stove and install a new energy-efficient EPA-certified Vermont casting wood product in your home. The U.S. government is offering federal tax credits of 26% on your wood stove install. For Vermont casting units, that includes stoves, venting, and labor. Call or email Advanced Fireplace and Stove for a free in-home estimate. Call 435-752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
We're right in the middle of holiday season. Most of our focus is on family and friends, as it should be. But don't forget your vehicles during the cold winter months. At Valvoline Oil Change will make it easy on you to get an oil change, have your vehicle's fluids checked, and if needed, check emissions and renew your registration. All while you sit in your warm car. It doesn't get much easier than that. Valvoline Oil Change, 695 North Main, across from Angie's.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain to climb. This is Brett Green, president of Cache Valley Bank. To conquer this mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Sunday on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL, it's a Week 17 cross-conference showdown as the Seattle Seahawks host the New York Jets. Hi everyone, Troy Clarity here. Join Chad Brown and me for all the action between two teams that are in must-win mode. Can Geno Smith rally the Seahawks, or will Mike White and the Jets find a way to get it done on the road? It's the Jets and the Seahawks. If it's the NFL, it's right here.
Sunday afternoon, beginning at 1:30 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the full court press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in and join the show. Switching to basketball, Utah State back in action tomorrow. Mountain West Conference play started earlier this week for a lot of schools, but for USU it begins tomorrow afternoon, really at noon in the Spectrum. But to get things started, New Mexico, Nevada, San Diego State, San Jose State, and Fresno all won their conference openers earlier this week. Fresno State, in their opener, they now where did it go? Sorry, I had it right here in front of me. They went to Wyoming, or excuse me, they hosted Wyoming and beat the Cowboys 58-53. Wyoming, as we know, has struggled. It certainly has been performing well below expectations coming into the season. But they've had some significant injuries, not just one, but several on their squad. So Fresno State, they were the favored team and played as such, but Wyoming still made it close. But Fresno State comes into town with the conference victory under their belts and trying to get two, facing Utah State. Now, this is a team that has a couple of guys that can play well. They've got Baker. He put 20 points on Wyoming earlier this week. Moore scored 13, but those are the only guys in double figures. Several contributions from multiple other players. A low-scoring game, 58-53. So just points were hard to come by in that one.
Yeah, Fresno State is a low-scoring, allow very few points team. They rank in like the 350s, and here's the reason. They rank in the 350s in points per game. 354th in points per game, but they're 32nd in points allowed per game. But the main reason behind that is they are 355th out of 363 teams in pace at little over 60, almost 64 possessions per game. Utah State plays like 75 possessions per game. So Fresno State on average is playing like 12 fewer possessions than the Aggies, 10 to 12. A fast-paced game might get to the 80, 85 possessions. So Fresno State, they don't allow a lot of points, but a lot of that is baked into they don't play a whole lot of possessions.
They're going to milk it till late in the shot clock.
Yeah, and I need to look at what their defensive rating is. If you give me
While you do that, just looking at Fresno State in the net, they're at 203, and Wyoming at 215 as of today. So this is another game where Utah State's playing a team that's not the worst team that they've faced, but it's a quad 4 game for USU. And we have seen that's been a bit of their kryptonite. When they play a quad 4 game, the Aggies struggle. So they struggled against Weber State. They struggled against SMU. So, both of those teams were quad 4 teams at the time the Aggies played them.
So this is a loss. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying I'd be scared about tomorrow.
Utah State is undefeated against non-quad 4 teams.
Yes.
Yeah, so defensive rating, so points per possession, converted into a 100 possession scale. Fresno State ranks 118th, which is not bad. Utah State's like 170-something, 172. So Fresno State's got a better defense in terms of points allowed per possessions. But, of course, Utah State's got a really, really good offense. They rank, according to Synergy Sports, they have the best offense. They have the best raw points per possession number in the country. At, I think, a little like 1.05 points per possession as a team, which is really good. Especially there's NBA teams that don't get that high of a points per possession. That should tell you how good it's been.
So it's the Utah State offense, as we've seen through the year, can play at a really high clip. But over the last 4 games, I mean, they're 2-2. 72 points against Weber State, 84 against Seattle, 74 against SMU, and then 82 against Washington State. So it's been kind of a back and forth right now for USU. With SMU, that was a team that was more physical with USU than I think we've seen anybody play, and that really stifled them. I mean, that they struggled to get through the physicality of the Mustangs. I don't know if Fresno is necessarily a physical team defensively, but with the Weber State game, it was a lackadaisical second half that allowed Weber State into it, and then it was too late making adjustments and get going themselves, and by then the momentum was in the Wildcats' favor.
Yeah, it seemed like Utah State's had times where they're able to just flip the switch offensively and just go. And so it was weird to see multiple games where Utah State just never did that. And if there was a moment they did that, their defense was just lacking. And it's weird because Utah State, and I looked this up and I actually posted on Twitter the other day where I said there's this weird trend in the Ryan Odom era where Utah State is 0-15 when scoring 72 or fewer points. They would be 0-16 if Bairstow hadn't hit a 3 at the end of that SMU game to make it 74 instead of 71. And it's just weird in that you include close games. They're like 0-8 when scoring 72 or fewer in regulation. In like close games, like one-possession games. We talk about all those one-possession games Utah State lost last year where they went 2-7 in games decided by 3 points either way. Most of those were games that were low scoring. Utah State just can't seem to handle games and get wins in games where they're like not scoring 75 plus points. And in case of point this year, they're undefeated when they score at least 75. Winless in the 2 games where they haven't. And it's weird because it doesn't seem like you can't say that it's defense into offense because when the Aggies are scoring 80 plus points, there's been games where they score 80 plus points and allow 68. Games where they score 90 points and allow 80. So it's like, I don't know what's going on here, where it's just like something about Utah State getting going on offense allows them to close out close games. But if they're grinding it out and they have to, get an ugly bucket here, get a lucky bucket there, they just can't do it for whatever reason. And it's not a Coach Odom thing, because here's the thing. Coach Odom was like 41-46 in in games where his team scored 72 points or fewer when he was at UMBC. He had dang near a 500 record, which, by the way, is fairly typical of a college team scoring 72 or fewer points. You tend to lose more games than you win when you score about that much, because losing teams tend to average in the mid to high 60s in points. So it's not an Odom system thing that's causing this. It's just Utah State, for some reason, can't figure it out when they've had Ryan Odom as coach here.
This season, they are 1-2 in games decided by 3 points or less.
Yeah, in the game they won, they scored, it was, 91-89.
Yep.
And the games they lost was 77-74, and then
75-72.
Yeah, 75. So it's just like, the heck's going on? Like, there's some magical thing in there about scoring a bunch of points, and then you're confident to get the bucket when you need it. But when they're not, like against Weber State, they'd get the bucket, but then they'd allow a bucket. It's like,
yeah, they couldn't get stops.
Do they just feel sad when they don't score points? So they don't give, is that what it is? That doesn't make any sense. That's why I say it's a weird trend, because there's nothing about it that makes any sense. I can't nail down 1 or even 2 or 3 factors. I just have to, wave my arms in the air and be like, this is happening. I have no clue why it's happening. There's no reason a random distribution would produce this. But it's what's happening. And there doesn't seem to be a cause to it. It's not Ryan Odom's system. It's not a collapse in the defense, because, again, there's games where the defense plays fine. They just score a bunch of points. And I don't know. It's not necessarily the offense because, like I said, the Aggies have been capable of holding teams to below those. And if you score 74 points, that's usually enough to win a game if you play good defense. I don't know. It's just weird.
It is weird. Taylor Funk got a little bit more going again against Washington State, but again, he's still struggling a little bit. He was 5 of 10 overall from the field, 2 of 5 from beyond the arc, but trying to do things in other ways to help his team. Had a block, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in the game against Washington State. Trevin Dorius, Dorius had himself a tournament. Like, he played well and had a great tournament overall in Hawaii. 12 points against Washington State, 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals for the big man. The thing that was impressive in that Washington State win is you had, 6 guys in double figures, but nobody scored more than 12. Not one dominant player, not one player who really got hot. You had multiple guys chipping in and contributing, and Jones had 9. He was almost in double figures. So that's Aggie basketball.
Yeah,
this season,
and that's what makes these random just lower scorings. Again, 72 is your lowest point total. It's not the worst thing in the world. But these lower scoring games is weird because we've talked about how everyone's able to create offense. You have Stephen Ashworth and Taylor Funk and Shulga and Bairstow are capable of going off for 18 points. And kudos to Sean Bairstow. He's been having a much better run lately.
Much more consistent, yes.
Yeah, consistent, scoring points, getting assists, getting rebounds. He's been playing incredibly well as well after a bit of a rough start. He scored the 18 in the season opener, then was in single digits for 5 straight games. So yeah, it is weird that just everyone goes cold at once. And it just doesn't seem to make as much sense. And I know Taylor Funk going cold has been a big impact. Because you look at the first 8 games, he averages 16 points. He's shooting 46% from 3. Okay, the last few games, ever since he came back from his ankle injury, where he sat out the one game against Westminster, he went from averaging 16 points to 10 points, shooting 46% from 3 to shooting 25% from 3, and sub 40% from the field overall. He's just absolutely lost his shooting touch.
Yeah, this was a big week for USU to come home, get back in their own gym, and start ironing out the kinks, gain some confidence, get in a familiar confines. And it's good that they're opening conference play at home, I believe, to get themselves back on track against a team that they should be able to beat. But again, they're a quad 4 team, so you never know.
Yeah, so you never. So you just
don't assume anything.
Utah State's going to go to 0-3 in quad 4.
All right, we've got to take another timeout. We'll love to get your thoughts about Utah State basketball. 435-339-0321.
A lifetime of awesome memories starts with the Yamaha lineup of youth ATVs. Find the perfect Yamaha ATV for the young rider in your life at Cash Yamaha. Start with the sporty Yamaha YFZ50, designed for riders 6 and up with easy start and parental controls. Then graduate to the Yamaha Raptor 90 with legendary Raptor Sport ATV styling and more for riders 10 and up. And for a taste of the rugged look of a utility ATV, check out the Yamaha Grizzly 90. Start a lifelong passion today at Cash Yamaha or YamahaMotorsports.com. See the Yamaha lineup today at Cash Yamaha at the Light in Hyde Park. YFZ50 is recommended for use only by riders 6 years and older and always with adult supervision. Raptor and Grizzly 90 are recommended for use only by riders 10 years and older and always with adult supervision. ATVs can be hazardous to operate. Yamaha recommends an approved training course. For safety and training information, see your dealer or call 1-800-887-2887.
All aboard! Come to the FSA Extravaganza this Thursday and Friday at HSA Depot. Did you know over $500 million FSA dollars are left unspent every year? Don't let this happen to you. This is Zach with HSA Depot. Stop in this Thursday and Friday for the FSA Extravaganza at HSA Depot. We have deals on hundreds of FSA eligible items so you can get those FSA dollars spent before they disappear. Find out what you can buy. HSA Depot is located in front of the North Walmart. Happy holidays from HSA Depot.
For more than a century, S.E. Needham Jewelers has been repairing jewelry and watches in Cache Valley. We do all our work on premises, and you may even talk directly with our expert technicians. We also have today's state-of-the-art equipment, including a laser welder that will repair jewelry with precision. We guarantee our work and offer competitive prices. So whether repairing your precious wedding ring, sizing a ring, or simply changing a watch battery, come to Utah's oldest jewelry store with today's newest technology and repair. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Old McDarrell has a farm, an appliance farm.
With down-home country prices and big city selection.
E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm, an appliance farm. Low overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Spend less time at the post office. With Formax and Mint mailing systems from Les Olson IT, you can quickly, accurately, and easily process your outgoing mail and even save on postage. Fold your documents, stuff and seal your envelopes, print addresses, weigh and measure to apply proper postage, all with the click of a button. With multiple model options available, you're sure to find a Formax solution and Mint mailing device that perfectly fits your business needs.
Les Olson IT.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Yes, the winter weather is here, so make sure you're stocked up on ice melt and get 50 pounds for just $10 a bag at Napa Auto Parts. But what about starting fluid or windshield de-icer, fuel line antifreeze, ice scrapers, and snow brushes? You can find it all at Napa Auto Parts, 5 locally owned stores between Preston and Providence. That's Napa Auto Parts. Again, 435-339-0321 to chime in on the Full Court Press text line. A couple texts that have come through. 9315 texting in, I think USU has a harder time when they don't pass around the outside of the key. Our passing was great in the Washington State game. 8968, in my opinion, that Weber game did one heck of a lot of harm to the Aggie football program. A lot of fans were just a little more than upset with the outcome, and the way it was coached and the lack of effort on everyone's part is not easy to recruit to. And then 7854, you have to wonder if Funk's ankle is truly better. That can throw off a shooter's touch.
It can, but it wasn't that serious of an injury because it was like an injury he could have played through initially anyway. I think they just held him out against Westminster because. Maybe it really is bothering him, but this isn't the first shooting slump that Taylor Funk's gone through. You can find shooting slumps, maybe not to the 25% hole that he's in right now over the last 4 or 5 games, but he's had stretches where he goes, 32%, mid-30s, low 30s. Games where he goes over. It's happened to Funk before. It'll happen again. It's just a matter of when is he going to get out of it? Because he's a good shooter. He's going to get out of this. And we knew that he wasn't going to keep shooting 50% from 3 the way he did to start the season. I keep thinking Stephen Ashworth's going to come down from that, but he's only had 1 bad game so far from 3.
Yeah, he was perfect. On Christmas Day.
Yeah, he's just
3
still,
for 3.
He's still going nuts. I should look up and see where he's at so far this season. It's just Taylor Funk had a screaming fall back closer to the mean.
Well, and really Taylor was the only one on Christmas Day who didn't shoot well, at least from 3. As a team, the Aggies were nearly 65% from beyond the arc.
Yeah, they did incredibly well. Yeah, Stephen Ashford still shooting north of 50% from 3. Is it 52, almost 53%. Taylor Funk, I say screaming back down to the mean, he's still shooting 39% for the season. And that's about where I expected him to be from the beginning. Like, I thought he was going to shoot somewhere between 37, 39%. He's a high-volume guy, so he's unlikely to shoot in the high 30s, low 40s when you're attempting 7 threes per game. But as I say that, Stephen Ashworth is shooting 7.5 threes per game and is still in the low 50s. So Funk will probably recover, or at least stay roughly where he's at. Hopefully he doesn't have another one of these stretches where he shoots 25% over the course of several games. Hopefully it's just limited to one bad game here, another bad game there, but largely games where he's able to go 3 of 9, 4 of 7, 5 of 11, just those kind of games where he's hovering between 30 and 50% on any given night, on anywhere between 7 and 12 threes attempted.
Well, I mean, thank goodness this team doesn't just solely rely on him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what's kind of special about this team is so many different guys can contribute. And we don't – I think, as we've seen, there can be games where one guy carries the team, but by and large on the season, this team is at its best when they work collectively.
Yeah.
When a defense doesn't know what's coming at them next. Is it going to be the guard? Is it the shooting guard? Is it the center? Is it going to – well, center's not usually a very potent position.
Nope. Dan Atkins, the third leading scorer on the team.
Well, I mean, Dorius had a good tournament in Hawaii. But, I mean, there's multiple guys who can come at you with Utah State. And if a defense starts to shut one guy down, that leaves another guy open.
Yeah. There's usually always somebody who can make a big – there's 4 or 5 guys who can make a big basket. Dan Atkins been clutch. You know, when maybe the perimeter game isn't working, they work it inside, and Atkins able to, get a layup or something. He finds himself open, they pass it to him. Because they're good at passing, they find Atkins open. But, yeah, there are several guys. Like I said, there's 5 guys on the team that average double figures. Insane.
All right, another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. Love to continue to get your thoughts on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321.
On behalf of the management team at TTM Technologies, we want to thank our more than 500 employees here in Logan for your hard work and dedication. Because of you, TTM Technologies continues to grow at a phenomenal pace. We've never been more optimistic, and the job opportunities at TTM have never been better. If you're searching for a job or considering a career change, we invite you to talk to us or go to careers.ttmtech.com to review our open positions. Happy holidays from all of us here at TTM Technologies in Logan.
Cubex Fitness is offering their best deal of the year. For a limited time, become a Cubex member and get your first 2 months for free. Then only pay $15 per month with no contract. Receive the Cubex Nutritional Guide ebook for free. Work out at Cubex with their virtual trainers in complete privacy, without any concerns or distractions or comparisons. Make 2023 your year. Achieve your goals at Cubex Fitness in Logan. $75 cancellation fee at time of cancellation.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. By the way, a Mountain West Bowl update. Wyoming leading Ohio 17-11. About a little more than 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. But Wyoming out early on Ohio so far in this one in the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl being played in Tucson. Also Notre Dame and South Carolina underway. It's about 8.5 to go in the fourth quarter there in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. And Notre Dame leading 38-31. Later on tonight, it's going to be number 6 Tennessee versus number 7 Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That should be fun. Clemson's favored by 4 in that one. And earlier, it was Pittsburgh beating UCLA 37-35 in the Sun Bowl. They're in El Paso. Also, I guess Maryland beat NC State 16-12. So a couple of unranked teams beating ranked teams in bowl games earlier today. So that's some bowl action going on. We'll have another bowl game here on this station on Monday, and that will pretty much conclude. But we've had some fun playing these bowl games with Mountain West ties and some other interesting bowl matchups here on The Fan, part of Bowl Season Radio. And we'll continue to do that and break things down. We've got to take done the timeout, top of the hour here with Dan Patrick. We'll be back next hour with top stories of the year.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The college football playoffs begin tomorrow, and although these may be the 4 best teams in the sport, it hasn't been an easy ride for many of the individuals involved. After a 2-4 season in 2020, Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh agreed to an extension which nearly cut his salary in half. Harbaugh has since led the Wolverines to 2 straight playoff appearances. A similar situation has played out at TCU and Georgia, but instead of a coach, the 2 schools have been rewarded with their patience under center. TCU quarterback Max Duggan never threw for more than 16 touchdowns in his first 3 years in Fort Worth. This season, he finished second in the Heisman voting. The same can be said for Georgia's Stetson Bennett. His career started slow, but over the last 2 seasons, the 25-year-old has become one of the more reliable quarterbacks in the sport. With so much money involved in college sports, the pressure to win is palpable. When you look at the teams competing in this year's playoffs, it's clear that patience can be rewarding. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.